All right. Hello, this is Wmpyr here to do a talk about the Bruce Lee versus Wong Jackman. And yeah, I guess the version that stands out to me, of course, is from the movie Dragon, the Bruce Lee story, starring Jason Scott Lee. And I remember seeing that back in the movie theater, and since then I've seen it many times. Um, and of course in that version it's very very Hollywood, so it's I believe very far from the truth in many ways, right? But yeah, when we examine this fight, first of all, the reason why did this fight take place, and I think a lot of us understood the reason being is that the Chinatown people, first of all, who are these people? Who are these people to tell Bruce Lee, you are teaching foreigners? You are not supposed to teach kung fu to foreigners. We want you to stop that. Um, so here is a challenge match. You accept this fight, this duel, and if you lose, you will close down your school and stop teaching. If you win, all right, you can start. You could keep teaching. Who are these guys to make this rule? Okay, it's like underground, like a mafia, uh, Chinese mafia or something like that, and then it starts to make you think: were these the people responsible for, killing Bruce Lee and Brandon Lee, right? And it's just, you don't want to go down that path. It really does sound like a fictional movie, right? So, but that's, I think, the way a lot of people see it is that Bruce Lee stood up. He was for humanity. He was for, anti-racism, and he said, "I can teach whoever I want. Has nothing to do with the race, the color of their skin. Anyone that's willing to learn kung fu, anyone that's willing to put in the hard work, they earn the right. So I can teach anyone I want." Boy, does that sound noble. That sounds like a hero, right? Captain America. And then the Chinatown crew saying, no, you cannot teach. This is a secret. It should not be taught to foreigners. They sound like villains, right? And I just, really, you guys buy into that? It's so black and white. It's so, hero, villain. I don't think so. I don't think that was the case. And I don't want to go too much into that. I've heard other possible reasons, but you know, one reason to me that sounds a little bit more believable is that, and I'm not saying this is the truth and this is the absolute reason why they fought. I'm just saying this is probably a partial reason, and this makes more sense to me than the whole racism thing. Okay, um, is that Bruce Lee said, "I am the best kung fu man in Chinatown," which basically means I'm the best kung fu man in this entire area, this town. Maybe the state. The entire state. But he was like, "I'm the best kung fu man here." So he made that statement, and then they were like, "Oh, okay. Well, here's who we think is the best kung fu man, Wong Jack Man. Prove it." So that's what I'm guessing, and I bet, in defense of Bruce Lee, they probably brought Wong Jack Man saying, "We brought the real deal. Oh, you said you were the best. Oh, here, well, why don't you tell him?" And they probably did it like that, which is, you know, not very nice. So Bruce Lee probably got really, really pissed off and said, "All right, let's do it." You know, but so then you might go, "Well, why did Bruce Lee say something like that?" I'm guessing is marketing. So back in the day, he was kind of like the Conor McGregor of back in the day, which would have been like Muhammad Ali would say something like that. So I think Bruce Lee said that. And part of that he believed, I'm sure he wouldn't have said it if he didn't really think he was awesome. But he said that, and at the time you could imagine that, nobody says something like that, right? And so the Chinatown people were probably shocked, and they were probably like, our true martial artist does not behave that way. They don't say stuff like that. But like I said, Bruce Lee was ahead of his time. He was the Muhammad Ali. He was the Conor McGregor of that time. So I'm thinking, that's, yeah, I don't think it's a very good thing to say, but I have a feeling that that's probably what happened. So then, from Wong Jack Man's point of view, it was like, hey, this guy, he's not behaving like a proper martial artist, and he said he's the best here. Are you going to stand for that? And they put some kind of pressure on him, and Wong Jack Man was like, okay, yeah, I will put him in his place. This monkey, as in Son Goku, the Journey West story, this bad monkey, I will teach him a lesson. So he went up to Bruce Lee, and he was like, okay, let's do a test of strength, skill. Let's see who knows kung fu better. And then Bruce Lee was, get the hell out of here. If you're here to challenge me, it's no rules. NHB, no holds barred. And I think at that point, Wong Jack Man was probably, and this is just my speculation, it was probably like, you are a real piece of crap human being. You are a piece of crap human being that I just came here to take your challenge that you made this big old statement, you acting like a non-martial artist, not humble, and saying something like that. And I just came to, say, hey, we shouldn't act that way. And I was going to let you save face, and we're just going to, exchange some skill and say, hey, you see, there are other people that are really, really good too. So you can't say stuff like that. That's all I was going to do. But now you're taking it to the next level. You're taking it extreme to where now it's a street fight. What the hell's wrong with you? You are a scumbag. And I don't want to do this. Was probably, I'm thinking in his mind, but at this point, too much peer pressure. He can't back down. And this is the sad thing about, people and groups of people where they make you feel this way. And he probably felt this way, that he had to do this. And so he reluctantly accepted. He didn't want to do this, but now I'm stuck with this. And then this Bruce Lee character is making it 10 times worse. If it was any other martial artist, because a challenge match is pretty formal, my understanding, in the Chinese society, because it is in my culture, in Japanese culture, a challenge match is very, very formal, the way it used to be. So I'm thinking this was also, with those intentions, Wong Jack Man came in as two martial artists testing their skills. And Bruce Lee said, get the hell out of here. This is a street fight. In his mind, it's probably like, this is to the death, right? So there they go, and now the actual fight happens. And it's not like Bruce Lee said, all right, we'll do it very formally, these are the rules, okay, I accept that, okay, let's bow, and then was super dirty. No, he made it clear that this is no rules. So, I'm not saying that he was deceptive in that sense. But once it started, my understanding is right when they bowed, Bruce Lee attacked Wong Jack Man. So you remember the quote in Enter the Dragon where Bruce Lee says, never take your eyes off your opponent even when you bow. Well, he literally took those words and applied it here. And this obviously happened before the movie, but he literally did that here. So this guy is heart and heart a true street fighter, a true no-holds-barred guy, if he really did this. And my understanding is he did. And when you hear about and this I need to address, like the people who talk about this fight, or most of the time when you hear about this fight from the people that were there, these people are from the Bruce Lee side. So we pretty much only have like one-sided view. And they don't really, a lot of times they don't talk about this sucker punch. That's what it is, right? If he really did it, it's a sucker punch. I saw a video the other day of Linda Lee talking about this match. She explained it, and the way that I saw it was, I don't think she's a liar. She sounds like such a sweet lady, Mrs. Linda Lee. It sounds like such a sweet person, and the video was very, very one-sided. I mean, that it's been edited, and it's been, and the way that I'm seeing it is the way she's talking about the fight is pretty much to say, you guys, you're fans of Bruce Lee, and you got into martial arts, keep training martial arts. To me, that was her sweet message when they asked her, please tell us about the fight. It wasn't, I'm going to tell you the truth. It was, I'm here to encourage you guys. I'm here to, it was her husband, Bruce Lee, passed away. So is she going to, trample on a ghost? No. So, she's being trying to continue his work, in a sense, saying, you guys that are interested in martial arts, you want to know about Bruce Lee, keep training in martial arts. To me, so it's not, her explanation is not the factual, detailed account is what she's giving. She's a sweet person, encouraging people, encouraging the fans. That's what I think. So yeah, she does say, I believe she does say that it was a street fight, and for Bruce Lee, that everything was on the line for him. Well, my understanding, he sucker punched the guy. And after that, right after that, he went for the guy's eyes and he went for the guy's groins repeatedly. So that's a dirty, dirty, dirty fighter. That's a street fight, right? And it's extreme. It's not just a normal street fight where people are just throwing haymakers. This is super dirty, right? But like I said, Bruce Lee made it clear. He said, this is going to be NHB. So it's not like he was lying. It's not like he was hiding that. So if you're studying Jeet Kune Do and you want street fight skills, I think look no further. You are learning street fight skills, right? And this is a man that walked the walk, talked the talk. He really did do that. My understanding, like I said, allegedly he did these things. Now the next thing we have to use some critical thinking. Is the whole purpose of this video, is not just take things the way it's been told. Let's use critical thinking. And I'm thinking that, okay, so he sucker punched the guy, and then he went for the guy's eyes, and then he went for the guy's groin. How is this guy still standing? Someone as explosive and fast and powerful as Bruce Lee sucker punches you, and then on top of that goes for your eyes repeatedly, goes for your nuts repeatedly. How can you survive that? And my understanding is the fight did not end there. Now, maybe Bruce Lee got an advantage for doing all that, and he stayed having the advantage. So Mrs. Linda Lee says that it was one-sided. Well, this kind of explains why it could have been one-sided. If he did all that, sure, it's going to be one-sided, But does that mean that Bruce Lee, it was one-sided because Bruce Lee was that amazing and this is Wang Jack Man's like way down here and Bruce Lee's way up here? No. To me, it means right here I'm seeing it as Bruce Lee took the advantageous position and he was able to keep it because of what he did. But hey, Wang Jack Man surviving all this? That's crazy. How tough was this dude? And then what happened after that? My understanding, from, I watched several videos of people talking about it. One side said Wong Jackman got Bruce Lee in a headlock. Another side said Bruce Lee got Wong Jackman in a headlock. Either way, the headlock thing, there was a headlock somehow. Maybe, maybe not. We don't know because there's no video. But if there was a headlock happening, then we could clearly say, kind of like the fight that Emin Bostep had with William Chung. Two Wing Chun guys fought and they ended up on the ground. And I think there could have been a headlock involved. So kind of like this. So in this situation, I'm seeing it similar where their kung fu skills went out the window and it's a headlock. Okay. So I don't know if it's on the ground or if they're still standing. My guess was they're still standing, but they're in a headlock, right? Who has who, I don't know. But either way, we can say if the headlock did happen, that it was no longer a kung fu versus kung fu. I mean, even from before that, you could kind of argue that it wasn't, that Bruce Lee made it into a street fight, right? So now we have a headlock situation. And then from there, I heard that Bruce Lee took him down. It could have been from the headlock, I don't know. Or they just ended up on the ground. And then, Bruce Lee was like, do you give up? And was it because Bruce Lee put a beat down on this guy? Or was it more like this guy's going, I came here for a test of Kung Fu to see whose Kung Fu is better, whose skill is higher, and this dude turns it into a street fight. I don't want any more of this, is my guess. And from that, we can conclude that Bruce Lee was the better street fighter in this situation. We don't know if Wong Jackman had street fighting skills, and if he had brought Wong Jackman the street fighter versus Bruce Lee the street fighter, would it have been more competitive of a fight? We don't know. Maybe this guy just does it. His personality is not that way at all. He's too nice. I don't know. So maybe. We don't know. The truth is we have no idea. We didn't get to see, that there's no. What happened was, I believe a guy came in as a kung fu guy, I am a kung fu guy, let's test kung fu versus kung fu, and ended up getting a street fighter, and the street fighter dominated in a street fight. So it's not a kung fu. It's like if I'm an MMA fighter and you're a Thai boxer and you came to me going, let's have a Muay Thai fight, and I said, no way, it's going to be a street fight, and I beat you on the ground with MMA. I took you out of your element, So that's what happened here. So we cannot say that Wong Jackman was just not in Bruce Lee's level. We know that a guy who wasn't expecting a street fight was forced into a street fight. He had no intention of doing a street fight, and he lost a street fight. That's what we know. In my opinion, that's what happened. So does that really mean that Bruce Lee was way, way, way better than him? No, I don't think so. Does that mean that Bruce Lee's kung fu skills were way superior to Wong Jackman? Absolutely not, in my opinion. Okay. So those are some things just to think about. Okay. And this is just me using critical thinking on stuff that I cannot prove as fact, and I'm not taking as fact. I'm saying if those things happen. So just take it as a grain of salt. It is either way, it is an exercise in critical thinking. So that's it for now. Thank you for viewing, and take care, folks.